Hey friends, and welcome to the Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey podcast. I'm your host, Jamie, and I'm so glad you're here. Each week on this show, I invite a girlfriend to join me and we chat about the big things in life, the little things in life, and everything in between.
Support for today's show comes from Prep Dish, a healthy subscription-based meal planning service. No more thinking about your meals, you guys. Let Prep Dish do all the planning for you. Sign up and you'll receive an email with a grocery list, prep ahead instructions so that all of your meals are ready for the week. Let's take out all the guesswork and let Prep Dish do it for you. Right now, Allison, the founder of Prep Dish, is offering you $4 for a month-long trial. That's right. You get to try it out for only $1 per week. Go to prepdish.com/happy hour to get your first month of Prep Dish for only $4. Friends, you are listening to episode number 211, and my guest for today is Sanya Richards-Ross. Sanya is a 4-time Olympic gold medalist. Yes, you heard that right. She's married to a former NFL football player and mama to a really cute little boy. It was really fun to talk to my first Olympian on the Happy Hour. Not only Olympian, 4-time gold medalist. Sanya and I talk about what it looks like at the Olympics, how her training went down, and what it's like to be the fastest woman in the world. At the end, Sanya shares a super personal story with us about what happened before she left America to go to the 2008 Olympics. You're going to want to hold tight to hear her story about what went down, but what I want you to really listen for is the way that God was faithful throughout her whole mess. That's what we talk about here on the Happy Hour. God is faithful to us, and we see that in Sanya's story as well. Guys, this month for our Happy Hour book club, we are reading my book, If You Only Knew, My Unlikely, Unavoidable Story Becoming Free. I'd love for you to join us and share with me all the ways that you're enjoying your own Happy Hour book club. Use the hashtag Happy Hour Book Club. Okay, friends, here is my conversation with Sanya. Hey, Sanya, welcome to the Happy Hour.
Hey, Jamie. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
This is so great. Now, I need to let you know a few things just so everything's out in the open.
All righty.
Okay? I'm a little bit giddy.
Okay.
Because you're an Olympian.
Aw, you're far too kind.
That's a really big deal.
Thank you.
You know it is, right? Please say yes.
Most days. I think when you live it and you've experienced it your entire life, it's not as big of a deal as when other people remind me of what a big deal it is. And I'm like, man, it really was that awesome. And that cool.
I mean, are there stats on how many Olympians there have ever been?
You know what? Especially gold medalists. You know, it's so funny. I was at an event and there was this really cool announcer. If I said his name, you'd know who he was, but I'm the worst with names. And he said something like, he said a stat, like you could fill like the Giant Stadium 10 times over and you'd still only potentially have one Olympic gold medalist. And I was like, oh my, what are those numbers? You know, but I don't do that kind of research and I don't know exactly, but I know it's really rare to find Olympic gold medalists amongst us.
Are you a 4-time gold medalist?
I'm a 4-time gold medalist and I have 1 bronze and I'm a multiple world champion, maybe somewhere 9 or 13, something like that. World championship medals as well. Gold medals. Yeah.
And you ran track?
Yes.
The quarter and the 800, the quarter and the...
No, and the 4x4. So, I actually ran the 200 as well. So I did mainly the sprints. The 400 was my specialty. I ran the 200 a bit and ran the 200 in the Olympics also. And then the 4x4 relay.
And that's where you won the gold?
Yes.
4x4. Did you win gold in the 400? Or
yes.
did you hold the world record at one time?
So I won the 400 in London. I was bronze in Beijing. And I won the 4x4 relay with my teammates at the Athens Olympics, Beijing, and London. So 3 Olympics in a row. And I have the American record. So I'm the fastest American to ever run the 400. And I still hold that record.
What's the time?
48.7 seconds.
Wow. Okay, so let me just give you a little bit of my background.
Yes.
Because last time the Olympics were on, which the Olympics were where last?
They were in Rio in 2016.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So as every American, we love watching the Olympics, right?
Course,
so
yes.
I like Winter Olympics, but let's be real. I really love the Summer Olympics because I ran track in high school.
Oh, nice.
That's why I'm giddy. Okay. So I actually, you probably did this as well. Did you ran summer track when you were growing up?
Of course.
Okay, me too.
Of course.
Where'd you live?
Well, I was born in Jamaica and then we migrated to South Florida. So I lived in Pembroke Pines and went to high school in Fort Lauderdale. Okay. So I lived in Florida for high school when I did summer track and all that stuff.
Who'd you run for in summer track?
So our high school team had a small track team. I wasn't a part of a big summer track club. So our high school kind of just went under the same high school name and we competed. Okay. So St. Thomas Aquinas High.
I love it. I ran for Wings, which is in Houston. Okay, nice. And I actually was telling the story to someone the other day, so I'm going to tell it to you real quick. So when I was sixth grade. We moved to a new town. I go to school and I go out for track team, right? And I'm white, clearly. I mean, you may not know that if you're listening for the first time, but I'm white, just so everyone knows. And so I go out for the track team, whatever. And one of the girls at school says, hey, my dad's a coach of a track. We run all summer. Do you want to come? And I was like, sure. So I go. When my dad and I walk up, we go up and everyone there is black except for, I don't know, like 5 people, right? So we go find the coach and we're like, he's like, hey, this is my daughter, Jamie. She wants to run track. He's like, cool, you can go over there on the other side of the field. And he sent me to the race walkers. So
no, he didn't.
Yes, he did. Hey, nothing wrong with race walkers because those people are legit with what they do.
Absolutely.
They move their hips in ways I don't even know what's happening.
Yeah.
And okay, so race walking, you have to have both feet on the ground at the same time. Like, okay,
yes.
So he sends me to the race walkers. Well, I'm like, okay, whatever. So I go over there and they start telling me what to do. And I'm like, I do not want to be a walker.
I want to run.
I want to run. And so I had to kind of prove myself. And so I ended up back on the team. And so when the Olympics come out, I always get out my medals from the Junior Olympics to show my kids.
Wow. That's cool.
Because my mom framed them. Because when you're in 8th grade, that's what your mom does.
Yes.
Funny thing about these medals is that I have taken them with me to every single house. I am 40 years old. Okay, I am 40 years old. I ran in the Junior Olympics. I stopped when I was in 9th grade. Wow. So we're talking, these medals are old. I pull them out and show my kids.
I love it. It's a huge achievement. The Junior Olympics is a big deal.
I ran a 59. That was my fastest.
Nice.
In 8th grade, I peaked and then I was done. So see, we have more in common than you thought. We're both Olympians. But man, it is a huge achievement. So
thank you.
Congrats.
I really appreciate that.
It's really great. So do you still, how old are you?
I have to always think now. Isn't that crazy? I am 33.
Okay.
85.
So how old were you when you ran in the last Olympics? That would have been, was the last one London?
Yes, my last one was London. It was 2012. So that's been 6 years ago. Yeah. So I was 28, I guess, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. We'll go with it.
Yeah.
Did you retire?
Yeah, so I officially retired in 2016. So after 2012, I had been running on a broken toe for like 4 or 5 years.
Like your toe was
literally a broken big toe. Like it was really bad. I had to tape it for every practice, every competition. It was really bad. So after the 2012 Olympics, I decided I'd finally have the surgery that the doctors had been recommending for me for years. And I had the surgery. It wasn't successful in 2013. So I didn't compete that entire year. Had a second surgery at the end of 2013 on my big toe. In 2013, the end of that year, I had a second surgery. I competed in 2014 and 15 and got back to #1 in the world. But I had a freak accident on a plane. I'm sleeping in business class and this guy literally steps on my toe.
No.
And I had 2 screws in my toe and he broke my toe. And I had to have a third surgery before 2016. And I started to come back into form, but then I pulled my hamstring. I was like, you know what?
It's time.
Quality of life is more important than chasing more gold medals. And so I retired actually at the Olympic trials in 2016.
You know, you could have gone, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the hardest part about it. But I'm also a woman of faith and I know everything happens the way it's supposed to. But I guess, you know, everybody asked me if I have any regrets in life. And that's the only thing. If I could have done differently, I probably would not have had that surgery because I won the Olympics.
The last one?
Yeah. No, not any of them.
One.
The first one is what
you're
really...
like, I've been running on this for years.
I had been running on it. And it's so funny because when you're in the moment, sometimes here's a little teaching moment. You know, you think things are really awful and then you don't realize that they really could be worse, you know? And so I believe what the doctors kept telling me, oh, it's a simple surgery. You're going to get all this mobility. I came out the surgery with no mobility in my big toe. Like literally, I mean, it was as stiff as a board. And so that is, if I have a regret, the only big regret I have of my career is that I wish I never had that surgery because I think I could have gone to 2016 and possibly won another medal and then retired the way I really wanted to. But it's all good.
That stinks. Okay, so the man that stepped on your toe.
Yeah.
Immediately you knew something happened?
It's, you know, the crazy part about that too. So I was actually asleep with my eye shades on the plane because I used to sleep with those. I couldn't sleep with light. And I didn't even see the person that did it because like I literally like came out and I was like, I was like wincing in pain, immediately started crying because it was so painful. And I leaned forward and I'm crying. I pull my shades off and I don't see the person. And so I never knew.
You don't even know who did it.
I never knew who stepped on my foot. And I'm like, to this day, I'm like, maybe it was a good thing because I would have probably had such a grudge towards this person.
Seen their face and been like, oh.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know who did it. And yeah, I had to have a surgery like a month after that because it was so severe. And yeah, that
You know
kind
what
of
else
took
it
me
makes
out.
me think of? Like, this is, you're an Olympic athlete. So you're in like the best shape, right?
Yeah.
That anyone's ever been in. And you think about like your
Yes.
little toe. I mean, it's your big toe, but still it's a small part of your body.
Absolutely.
And look how much it affected you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, we could do all kinds of examples with this.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, think about even like if you're like, man, I don't do much for the kingdom. My gifts are so
Right,
little.
right.
No, they actually really matter.
True.
And
Absolutely.
if you're not walking in your gifting, like
Yep.
if your big toe can't do what your big toe needs to do,
Right.
the whole body suffers.
Yeah. No, I mean, it definitely kept things in perspective for me too. And like you said, things that seem small, they have a huge impact. And especially now with the way the world is, sometimes we do feel overwhelmed, like what we do, our contributions don't matter. And you realize that, yeah, you're an important part of the body and that you have to do what you are called to do because it does make a difference. Even if it's for one person, it makes all the difference. So
you said you're a woman of faith.
I am.
Which I knew that,
Yes.
and that's why you're here. Tell me about, did you grow up? I know you grew up in Jamaica. Did you grow up in a Christian home? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, so I was born in Jamaica and my parents are both Rastafarians. And so
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so both my parents have dreadlocks and they believe they aren't like devout. They weren't devout Christians when I was growing up, but they believe in God. And the Rastafarian beliefs are kind of about a way of living.
Is that a religion?
I don't know if they would call it I guess,
way of life.
Just a way of life,
Okay.
I think, more so. They don't eat certain foods, no red meats, no porks, no things like that. They believe in just being kind and it's just a really great way of living.
They're really great people.
They're really great people. And when my mom's eldest sister was the one who really, once she moved out and everything, really got into the church. And so when we moved to South Florida, that's when my mom and myself and my sister really got involved in the church and I gave my life to Christ. And that's when, and my mom's a Christian too. So even though she still has her Rastafarian ways and, that kind of loving spirit that she has from Jamaica still lives in her, she identifies as a Christian as well. So I didn't grow up in the church initially. My grandma went to church a lot, but we didn't go with her when I was younger. But by the time I moved to South Florida, I really fell in love with the church and started to have my own relationship with Christ. And when I moved to Texas for school, found a really great church home and a really good church guy. And, now we just have it's just amazing. So
you moved to, what brought y'all to Florida?
So my mom's eldest sister was there and she kept telling her, if you want the girls to get a scholarship for school and you want them to have greater opportunities, the sooner you move to the States, the better those chances are for them. And so we migrated when I was 11 or 12. I told this story so many times and I've forgotten. And so I went to 8th grade, was in 8th grade, and then went to St. Thomas Aquinas High School in Fort Lauderdale and I got a scholarship to the University of Texas. And so, our parents moved like, a lot of parents do for their kids and wanting us to have a better life and greater opportunities.
So you ran at UT.
Yes, hook 'em.
I'm super excited this year because for the first time ever, we got season tickets.
Oh, awesome.
So we're going to the games and I'm so excited.
Cool. It's going to be a great season for us. I can feel it. Good times.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about marriage with two people who have two careers.
Yeah.
I think this is a question that I get often with my husband and I both having careers and people saying, how do you manage it all? Because you clearly were training, which is a career. It was your job. Your husband was playing in the NFL. That's his job.
Yep.
What did that look like for you guys to still go, okay, we support each other.
Yeah.
And we still got to work our tails off at our individual things.
Absolutely. I think for us, because that's all we knew. When we met each other in college, college sport was as intense as it was for him going professional and for me as well. And so we kind of found a way, and I think it made our relationship very strong and unique because we didn't argue as much because we didn't spend, like, the time that we had together was always so valuable, so priceless.
Because you didn't have that much.
We didn't have that much. Yeah. When he would be in training camp or his season started, and it kind of worked out perfectly where my season would end right when his was about to start. So we would wrap our season end of August, early September, which is when the football season would usually start. So I might miss his preseason games, but then I'm there supporting him. And I understand what it takes to be a great athlete. And so in many ways, I think it helped our relationship because I'm hey, you got to get to bed, you got to eat, and I was there for him and vice versa. In his off season, he was always there for me. So it really helped us because we just had this tremendous awareness around the commitment that it took took to be a professional athlete, but I'm not going to pretend like it was always easy. You know, there were times where it was very difficult because sometimes I needed him to be somewhere and he couldn't be there. And I'm like, man. And then sometimes I felt inadequate as a wife. Like I should be with my husband. I should be there. I should do certain things for him that I just physically couldn't be there to do. And so we struggled at times about striking that perfect balance. But I think ultimately when you love somebody, and I do believe wholeheartedly that when people are doing what they're called to do and what they love to do, they're better friends and spouses and lovers. And so I think for him, he saw that when I was running and I was doing what I love to do, I was a better wife to him. And so even though sometimes I wasn't physically there, he could always feel that love. And so I think that's kind of how we made it through. But, you know, we had our challenges.
I'm sure.
But for
just
the
like
most
everybody
part,
does.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about faith.
Sure.
And let's talk about what that looks like.
Yeah.
Just out in the world. Like, I don't necessarily mean like as an athlete,
Sure.
but just for all of us being around people who don't share our same faith.
Sure.
What has that been like for you of being in the spotlight and still trying to stick to the boundaries and the behaviors and the truths that you believe to be true?
You know, for me, I think I've always been a person who I'm not the one who I try to just lead by example and to just show up in the world the way I believe that Jesus would. I don't go out and preach on people or try to judge or criticize. So ultimately for me, I think how I've experienced my faith as a star athlete is, you know, when I feel moved or it's appropriate, I share it.
Yeah.
And I've it's so funny because I have like a really short memory, right? So a lot of things I forget. And I'll never forget one of the most meaningful moments of my career. I was in a room and we were having Bible study because a lot of times we have chaplains who travel with us to these different competitions.
Wait, and when you're a professional athlete, you have people that travel with you that lead chapel.
Yes.
How do I get that job? Oh my gosh. Like that's their paid job?
I don't know how much they get paid for it, but I know like USA Track and Field, like if we're in the Olympics, there's a chaplain there. And if you're at the World Championships, we have chaplains there. And I don't know.
I would have never known that. I mean, I know they have chaplains for the professional teams.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But I would never thought about. Okay, carry on.
So
I love that.
And a lot of times, many of the chaplains that we have are ex-athletes, ex-Olympians who, you know, are like, hey, this is important to us. And they make it a priority to come and travel with us. I'm sure the USOC and USA Track and Field, whichever organization, funds their trip. I don't know if they're technically getting paid to do that.
They're like, we just want to give back.
Exactly.
Yeah, it matters to them.
So I'm at this event, at this Bible study, and there's probably about 30 of my peers in the room. And I was towards the end of my career, and we're talking about all these different things. And I remember saying, I can't remember exactly what led to this moment, but I said something like, you know, I wish throughout my career I would have done more. I wish I would have taken moments to share with some of my, you know, my teammates and colleagues and pray with them. And I kid you not, Jamie, at least 10 people in that room said, wait a minute. I remember once when I finished a race and I was down and you came over and you held my hand and you prayed with me. And another teammate who said, I remember when you came to my room and you knocked on my door, and I was like, oh my God, like, you know, because I tried to be used by God and not force these things, I just, when the moment was right, I did them. And I didn't do it for any other reason other than for what I thought God wanted me to do. And it brought me to tears because I thought, man, I have been allowing God to use me. And I have said those things where people will email or text me after a race and said, man, like, I really appreciate you being a woman of faith and having the courage to say this or that. And it never felt like that to me because I was just doing what came naturally. So you know, it's been a good experience, and I've never had any flack or negativity, to be honest, where I felt like, oh, I wish I didn't say that, or or not that I wish I didn't say it, but was that the right place to say that? I've never really experienced that. I've been very fortunate because I think God has just covered me on my journey.
Yeah. So when you're running at like the world, I don't even know.
World Championships.
Okay. That competition is paying you.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep. So they'll pay you a prize money, and then of course your sponsor.
Wait, do you get paid based on the place you get?
Yes.
Okay.
You only get paid based on what place you get, but your sponsor will give you a bonus for that place you get. But if it's a world championship or Olympic team, the USATF, our U.S. organization, takes care of everything. So they get you there, they pay for accommodation.
Okay.
So there's no expense to you once you've made the team. And then of course your money's just based on your performance when you get there.
I did not know that.
Yes.
I knew sponsors, but I was like, I didn't know how So that was your job.
Oh yeah, full time. Yeah, I was a full time track and field athlete, and Nike took really good care of me. And then I was also fortunate on Olympic cycles to work with some really big brands like Coca-Cola and BMW and BP and all these brands.
Well, of course you were. They're like, this girl is winning gold medals left and right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how it works as well.
Okay. Now, when you're on the 4x4,
yes,
which I'll explain to people who don't know, it's a relay. 4 people, each person runs one lap around the track.
Yep.
4 times 400.
Got it.
Are you also competing against your teammates in the 400?
Yes.
But then those are your girls.
Right.
Tell me about that.
Jamie's a very interesting dynamic that is a little bit hard to describe because it's on one hand when and we compete against each other first, right? So the individual, exactly, the individual events are first, and so in that case, I want to beat them. I want to be the best. I want to stay on top of the podium. Many times my teammates on the 4x4, we don't train together. So we don't build that kind of long lasting camaraderie.
Oh, really?
No, like I train here.
So you trained at?
Yeah, I trained at Baylor with Coach Clyde Hart for my entire professional career. And many of my teammates train in California.
Okay, so stop real quick. So I did not know that.
Yeah.
And so then when you go try out for the Olympics, because we watch the Olympic trials,
right? You
try out, and then they put together the 4 best women.
Exactly.
Is that sometimes the first time you meet them, or you know them because y'all have raced against each other?
Absolutely. Most of these girls have been running each other since we're 15, 16, 17 years old.
At the Junior Olympics.
Absolutely. Yeah. Where you and I competed against each other.
Yeah, I'm a little bit older than you, but side note, the Junior Olympics, when we ran third in the 4x4, I was the only white girl on the podium.
Really?
What up?
What up? Shout out to Jamie.
Shout out. So you meet at the trials, and then do you train together before you go to London?
No.
Oh my gosh.
So we don't train together, and especially the 4x1 relay, which of course shorter relay. It's a blind handoff. They need more chemistry. They go over early to training camp and they practice.
Okay.
The 4x4 is not a blind handoff. And many of us have been running the 4x4s our entire.
You can do it in your sleep.
We can do it in our sleep. So we just go back to our regularly scheduled programs, get back with our coach. We keep on training for the individual, and then we get together.
Okay.
So
time out. One more thing.
Sure.
Do you know what leg you're gonna run?
Most of the times we do. Like the 4x4 is it's pretty much like the person who's the best is going to run anchor.
That's you.
Yeah.
So you always knew I'm probably going to be anchor.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
And then yeah. So we always kind of knew there wasn't a lot of politics and stuff in the 4x4. The 4x1 is a little bit different because they're much more evenly matched, and you do have to have chemistry. So sometimes the fastest 4 don't have the best chemistry. So that's a different
race.
Yeah. So the 4x4 kind of always just kind of easily panned out, and so. You talk about what the dynamic was like of competing against these women and then competing with them. And so you think about you're at the Olympics and you want to win, all of us have been training really hard. We're all supremely talented. And there is that, competitiveness that even though we're in the same dorms, we're not warming up together. We're not talking.
You're doing your own thing.
We're doing our own thing. We're in our zone. And then you go to the back. And many people don't know this. At the Olympics, you check in an hour before you race. So we warm up, and then we're going through this check-in process where we're in this location. And you're with these 7 women this entire time. And there's
because they've got the whole heat together.
Exactly. Yeah.
Are there heats in the Olympics?
Yeah, until the finals. Then the final round, there's only one. So we run 3 rounds.
Okay.
So there's multiple heats. There's tons of heats, and then it narrows down to 3, and then the final one, of course, is 1 race.
So I picture you with your headphones in the zone, not talking to anybody.
Yeah, you don't talk to, and these are girls you're gonna run with in a week together. So
is your coach with you, or you're by yourself?
No, by yourself. You're in there by yourself, and
this is so interesting to me. Okay, keep going. So you're going through the check-in, which is an hour after
long.
warm up.
Yep.
I'm thinking about your body.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's only the Olympics that does that, and of course they have to, right? Because this thing has to run
because we're on TV.
We're on TV time. Like this is, millions and millions of people watching, so they want to make sure they have us, and we are where they want us to be at these times, and everything is running like clockwork. And so, of course, we get used to it after a while. So a lot of us are still doing parts of our warm up in the back, before we go out. So yeah, it's very intense, and it's funny because of course you're hoping that on that day you're better than your teammates, but then now when that's all done and that's been decided, and we stand on the podium, however that plays out, now you're hoping your teammates are
better than everybody.
Exactly. You want them to be the best that they could be.
Yeah.
Shoot, better than you on that day. That's fine. And so it's an interesting dynamic, and you learn that the better that they are is the better that I am, right?
sure.
And so you then in the relay, you get a chance to appreciate their talent as opposed to being like, damn, I hope she doesn't run her best race today, you know? Which I think is a really cool thing that I learned as being a part of a team. And now that I've transitioned out and I'm doing businesses and stuff, it's like, man, like I can see someone's potential and see what they bring to the table and really value that as a part of my team and not feel like, oh, it's kind of overshadowing me or whatever. It just makes me feel more empowered and helps me to want to be greater.
I love that. I think I always say like everything's better together.
Yes.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Like
Amen.
we can do this. And and so when you do the 4x4 and you're a team, you really get to feel like everyone, I want you to bring your best today.
Absolutely.
What was like the craziest thing that ever happened at Olympics?
Well,
okay, so not with you, but is it true that crazy things happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I wasn't aware of it.
What do they call that? The Olympic
Village, which the way I would describe the Olympic Village, other than what people are and what we're alluding to and we'll talk about too, is I find like for me, like that's almost the best part of the Olympics for me. The first day I walked into the Olympic Village, I'm like, it feels like a utopia because think about it. Representatives from every country in the world. And then there is, Jamie, this feeling of hope and positivity that's almost palpable. Like you can just bite it. Like
because everybody's there.
Everybody's there thinking they're going to win.
Yes.
So can you imagine that energy? Like it's like the best. And then of course it kind of starts to, because people get injured and lose. And it's like
the best of every country.
It's the best of every country. Wow. And so that's the part I'll miss. Like going to the Olympic Village and being around other athletes like that. Can you describe
Olympic Village? Because
sure.
I'm picturing like a big open area where everyone hangs out, but I don't get it really.
No. So think about it more as like a dorm room. So what it is where we live.
Okay.
So it's this huge, and every country goes a little bit different. Like in Beijing, it was crazy. They spent a lot of money. Okay. London was really nice. They're all really, really nice. Beijing was probably the craziest, where they built like makeshift ponds and they make it like a community. So we have where our housing is, which is like dorm setup. But nice dorms. And then we have where we eat, like restaurants. And then they have shopping areas where you can get your nails done. Like
just for the Olympians.
Just for the Olympians. So we can do our laundry. Like just think about, because we're there for a month. Okay. So they give us all of the creature comforts that we need on the compound. Because of course there's tremendous security. Like your mom and dad aren't just coming in and out. Like you have to register them. You have to go to the front.
Is your husband coming in?
No. Everyone who comes in has to be registered before you surrender your passport. It's a big deal. Because
you don't stay with your husband.
No.
He's got a hotel room someplace else.
Exactly. No one else
comes in for the race, maybe, or is he there the whole month?
No. My husband actually only came to one Olympics because of football stuff,
that's true.
and he was there for 2 days. Like he just saw the final. My family, though,
he was watching you on TV.
Yeah. My husband, my first 2 Olympics, he didn't come.
Wow.
That's the third one he came to, and the third one was a charm, so it's all good.
Go.
But
you needed your baby there.
I did. That's what I always tell him. But it's a place just for us.
Okay, I got it.
And so we live there. We do everything there. The only sport that usually isn't there is the men's basketball, the U.S. men's basketball team, and usually because they're just so wildly popular that they just
because
can't.
It's all these professional. I mean, you're a professional athlete too, but you know what I mean, like in NBA.
Yeah, I mean LeBron James. Like, imagine he wouldn't be able to make it from his room to any day.
Yeah.
So the men's basketball team, and like usually it's like Serena, like some of the biggest stars in the world, if they're playing, they're not going to be there. Yeah. I did when Serena competed with Venus. They were there a few times, and we saw them. But for the most part, the big, huge stars aren't going to stay there just because, I mean, there's some countries who send athletes who aren't technically professional athletes. So this for them is just like a fun trip, right?
So they're going to find LeBron James and get
all they're going to do is find the stars and take pictures.
We don't need any of that.
Yeah. So
how cool is Serena Williams right now?
Oh man, how can you not love Serena Williams?
How can you not? I know.
How can you not? She's incredible. And I'm fortunate to know her a little bit and to be able to talk to her every now and then. And she's just a wonderful human being, and to see her bounce back from everything she's been through, because I mean her delivery was not easy. She shared her story, and her and I talked about that as well. And so I just think she's just a living superhero. Yeah, like literally.
You guys, I know you're loving hearing all about Sanya and her amazing stuff that she's done in her life, but I want to take a minute to thank our sponsors for the show, because they really help the happy hour happen every single week. The first sponsor I want to thank is Molecule. Here's what I want you to do. Imagine if your phone was the same as it was in the 1940s. I know, the 1940s. Well, that's exactly when the technology that you are using to clean your air was developed, with the invention of the HEPA filter.
Thankfully, Molecule has introduced a breakthrough science that is finally capable of destroying air pollutants at a molecular level. Molecule's PECO technology goes beyond HEPA filtration. It captures and completely destroys the full spectrum of indoor air pollutants, including those 1,000 times smaller than what a HEPA filter can catch. In fact, you guys, in a study of 49 allergy sufferers presented at the American College of Asthma, Allergy, and Immunology, Molecule's technology provided dramatic, statistically significant symptom reduction within a week of use. 1 week, you guys. One customer even said that she was able to breathe through her nose for the first time in 15 years. And Molecule doesn't just have groundbreaking technology on the inside, it creates a complete and clean air purification experience from the materials used on the device, like its sleek, solid aluminum shell, to a streamlined filter subscription with replacement filters arriving at your doorstep right when you need them. For your $75 off your first order, visit molecule.com. That's MOLEKULE, molecule.com, and enter the code Jamie at checkout. Molecule, the air you were meant to breathe, is finally here. Guys, I also want to thank Noonday Collection. So my friend Jessica Honegger is actually the founder and CEO of Noonday. And if you remember, she was on episode number 206, so go back and listen. But we want to tell you about an incredible opportunity to make a global impact while gathering your girlfriends. Okay, Jessica, let's talk about becoming a Noonday Collection ambassador.
We started the Noonday Collection Ambassador opportunity for women like you. Are you hungry to make an impact in the world? Are you looking to earn an additional income? Are you wanting to help grow leaders and help others rise up into their potential? Are you wanting to get a stamp in your passport and travel the world with me? Are you wanting to come to our conference in Austin and hang out with Jamie Ivey? That is why we started the Ambassador opportunity. We would love for you to join us in becoming a social entrepreneur to earn an income while making an impact.
I love it, Jessica. And if I didn't already have a JOB, you know I'd be with you. I love Noonday Collection ambassadors, and I'm excited to share with you guys that if you decide to join the Noonday Ambassador community by the end of October, you're going to get my favorite piece from the new fall collection, the feathered fringe earrings in blush, which is like my new favorite color these days, made in India. You can find out more and see an exclusive video from me over at noondaycollection.com/Jamie Ivey. You're done though with
sports.
competing.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like I told you with my toe injury, if my toe would have allowed me to continue competing, I might have kept going. But like I said, at some point I had to decide. I think God gives us our gifts for a reason and for a season. And I think that one of the greatest things we can do is recognize when that season is over and thank God for it and give it back to him. And so I'll never forget in 2016, before the season started, I wrote a letter to God, a private letter, thanking him for this gift.
Is that a practice you do often?
No, and I haven't done it since. It's just that track and field had meant so much to me. It felt like the right thing to do, And so... And I just thanked him for it. And I said, God, no matter what happens this season, this is going to be my last season. And I thank you for this. And I give my gift back to you, And I realized in that moment, because I was able to have a really pretty seamless transition from sport to, I got invited the day after I didn't make the team to come and commentate. And then I went to Rio anyway as a commentator. And I knew that was God. I knew it was because I had the courage to let go, to move on, to tell him thank you.
And to say...
Yeah, it's over. It's over. As much as I love it, as much as if it were in my power, I may have another surgery and try again because I know I could do it. It was time to say thank you and let it go. And I think God rewarded that obedience. And so things have been really good for me. So I think to go back on that would be almost disingenuous to, that conversation and promise I kind of gave to God. So I'm at peace about it.
What was commentating like?
Commentating was so much fun. It was so much fun because it allowed me to contribute
like a dream
to
job. You're still in it.
Exactly. Now I'm contributing to the sport in a different way. Yeah. And it's like, for me, I had been consuming the sport since I was 9. Yeah. And there are many times I'm like, well, they should have said this, why didn't they tell the people about this part? So now I get to be that insight and that voice. And what's even more amazing is I'm the first woman in the booth in the past 20 years in track and field. Yeah, they hadn't had a woman for 20 years in the booth, just all men.
Who was before you? Do you know?
Yeah, her name is Carol Lewis. Okay. Carol Lewis was in the booth, and she competed. She was also an athlete too, and so to be able to now step in that space and to be able to go to the back, do the research, talk to athletes, like, and share with the listeners, hey, this woman is a computer engineer, like, you know, the depth of this woman.
These are my favorite things to hear.
Exactly. Like, far beyond what you're seeing here is that she's a mom, or she's a computer engineer, or she went to Harvard, or she's doing this, or, you know, it's
just random things that make you go. So whenever I love football. It's my favorite sport to watch. NFL is not my favorite.
Yeah.
I'd rather watch college.
Sure.
They're like kids, you know. Yeah. We can say they're kids, right? They think they're grown,
of course.
But whenever the Super Bowl's on, they always do some kind of story on somebody.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It's the best part.
And then all of a sudden, I'm like, "That's who I'm going for."
I love that guy. Yeah,
I hope they win.
I hope they win. Yeah.
I'm in with him.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you remember those things.
Yeah,
like I remember, you know, stories that they've done on, you know, other guys, and I remember them.
Yeah. No, I think that's what, even for the Olympics, that's what a lot of people, when they connect with us, it's because NBC took the time to come down and do all this stuff. Like, a lot of people knew my story with my husband, and that's why they fell in love with me, or whatever it was. I was from Jamaica, or I love to this, I love to that. So I think it is important to add that color, because we're all connected in some way.
Yeah.
We all have something that makes us similar. So I try to, that's the part that I love about it, is doing that research and making that person come to life, because sometimes they're on the track for 11 seconds or 50 seconds. Yeah. So how much can you know about that person in that time? So it's been really, really fun.
Okay. So I also want to talk to you about this real quick. In your book, you talk about one of your lowest moments.
Yeah.
You've had a bunch of high moments.
Yeah.
A bunch of amazing things, you know, once in a lifetime. One person in the giant stadium would understand. But you've also had some really low moments.
Yeah.
So tell me about one of your lowest moments.
Yeah. So, you know, it's really hard still sometimes for me to share this story. And when I was writing my book, I was very prayerful. You know, I was asking God, what can I do? What can I write about that will hopefully meet somebody right where they are? Allow me to be transparent and vulnerable enough to kind of get out of the way and to share something that I know is hard for a lot of women, especially, to deal with. And so I literally wrote this chapter last because I was afraid. I didn't want to share it. But when I named my book Chasing Grace, which happened throughout the process of writing it, I thought it would be disingenuous to share about what grace looked like for me if I didn't share the moment in my life where I felt God's grace most profoundly. And so in 2008, I was having the most amazing season. I was undefeated and was headed to Beijing as the favorite to win gold.
Is this your professional season?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Beijing, yeah.
Yeah, I turned pro or became professional in 2004.
Okay, so 4 years.
So I've been 4 years in.
Athlete.
Exactly. Technically 3, because 2005 was my first year with 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so my 4th year. Yep. And I mean, I was just killing it, doing great. And right before I was about to head to Beijing, the week before, or maybe a month, somewhere in that time, I found out I was pregnant. And it literally felt like, for me, it's like my whole life, I feel like, you know, other than a little white lie and all that stuff, I was like, you know, I'm just kind of living this amazing life and honoring God. And I never, ever, 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 ever thought I'd be in that situation where I would do something that I thought I would never, ever, ever do. And so the day before I boarded my flight to Beijing, I had an abortion.
So you're heading to the Olympics.
Yeah. Yeah. I literally, and this is not an exaggeration, this is the truth. I have an abortion the day before I get on a flight to the Olympics.
And I'm assuming this is Aaron.
Yes.
Does he know?
Yeah. Of course. So, so my husband was actually, we were engaged at the time. We weren't married yet. And he was actually already gone away to training camp. He literally probably left 3 or 4 days prior to all this happening. He wasn't with me when I found out. And so I call him, and I share this in my book too, because I think that sometimes the burden falls so heavily on women when it's 2 people involved.
2 people, yeah.
And because my husband's also a man of faith, I feel like we never ever spoke about it. We never said the words. It was just kind of this silence, and you know, and there was it plagued our relationship for a while. Like, even when I was writing this book, we had like a real breakdown about this. And I realized that he was also carrying a lot of hurt and misconceptions and untruths that he carried because of this situation we went through too. So it was very healing for us to both go through this process of writing. And so I get on the plane and I am just broken. I'm broken. Like, I feel like I crossed the line for myself that I never thought I would. And I literally felt like unredeemable. It's like, it felt like the right thing to do because I believe that this is what God wanted for me. Like everything pointed to me to be an Olympic champion. Like when I was 9, I knew I was going to be an Olympic champion. I know God gives us our dreams. And it's like, why would I be in this situation? And it was really hard for me, as you can imagine. And so I get to Beijing, and for the first time in my entire life, I don't feel like I'm just outrunning 7 other women. I feel like I'm outrunning my own shame and disappointment, and just the burden and weight of it all was just too much. And so I end up finishing 3rd in that race. And I almost feel like a part of me like almost sabotaged myself. Like I felt like it was almost like my sorry. Like I don't deserve the gold medal because I'm not a champion anymore. I'm this kind of scarred woman. And so I'll never forget it. And I share this in my book. I'm broken. I am like bawling, and it's so funny how people sometimes don't know we don't know what we're going through. And at the time there was no social media. But I got all these emails because people saw me on the podium and I was literally bawling. And people are like, you're a disgrace to America. You're an ungrateful winner. You won the bronze. Why are you? And it was so much more than that. Like I could be gracious in defeat, but it was way more than just that loss.
You had just been through.
Yeah. I had been through an emotional loss, a spiritual loss, and now a physical loss. And so I just felt like my world was crashing down. And so I get on the bus. So like I told you, the athletes,
Aaron's not there with
and Aaron's
you.
not there, right? My mom and sister are there, and my aunts, and I had a lot of family there, but
And they don't know.
My mom and my sister knew. No one else knew. My coach didn't know.
You told them.
Yeah, my mom and sister are my best friends. Like they knew. My dad didn't even know. My dad didn't know for many years.
Yeah.
And so they were all like, "What happened to this girl? Like she's a mental case. Like how could she? Like I should have won by 50 meters, not just won.
Right.
I should have buried them.
Yeah.
And so I'll never forget, I get on a bus because the option is to go to the village or to go to my family. I don't want to be in the village because everyone's going to ask me,
Yeah.
So I jump on this bus, and it's not a Olympic bus because it's not taken to the village. So I'm on a public bus, and I'm in the back, and I'm still crying, can barely even see through my eyes. And I look around and I realize I don't think I'm going in the right direction. So I get off the bus, and now it's like my internal turmoil is now I'm lost. I'm like, I'm in a foreign country. No one speaks my language. So my internal experience is now my external experience as well. And I tell you not, Jamie, and I know for sure, no one can ever tell me that God is not real. I literally felt the loving arms of Jesus wrap around me and hug me. Like almost like he was physically there with me. I felt him, and he said, I forgive you. Like deep in my heart, I forgive you. And it's like he forgave me before I even had the courage to ask him. I hadn't even been able to confront God. I hadn't even been able to turn back and say, I'm sorry, because I was acting like it didn't happen, like just running away from that experience. And so it was such a huge turning point in my life because I realized in that moment that I can't do life without God. I am just like everyone else. I will fall into sin. I can do anything that any other man could do unless I constantly turn back to God and I invite him in on every part of my journey. And so it was probably one of the, most amazing experiences of my life after having one of the worst experiences of my life. Yeah. And then to kind of seal that whole experience for me, because the relay comes 3 or 4 days later. I didn't even want to run. I didn't want to get on the track.
And you're on the team.
Of course. I'm the anchor leg.
Yeah.
I'm third, but I'm still the best American. The next American in the race I was the only American that made the finals. So I'm the best American.
You're the best American.
So I'm the anchor leg for this team. And I'm telling them, I can't do it. I can't go back out there. I cannot do it. I am too broken. I cannot run. And my mom is like, you can do this. You will overcome this. You're fine. You can do this. You're prepared. And so I get out there, and I'll never forget.
You still haven't told your coach?
No, my coach didn't know till I wrote the book. My coach didn't know
And then he's like, oh, this makes sense.
Now it makes sense. Yeah. The whole world is like, it makes sense, well, at least the people that follow the sport and knew at the time how good I was. And so I get back on the track, and for the first time in my career, and mind you, the Olympics happen every 4 years, but we run worlds and all this stuff. Yeah. So I'm running anchor leg for years and years and years. For the first time in my career, I get the baton behind the Russian team, and the Russian team is a really good team. And I'm deep in my spirit, like, I am leaving Beijing with a gold medal. Like, I knew what I came here to do. I know what I'm capable of. And so I get the baton in behind. And
How far behind?
We're probably about 15 meters behind.
Okay.
And this woman is good. Like the woman, she got 5th in the 400. So I'm 3rd, she's 5th.
Yeah,
And you
she's
get a
good.
15-meter head start.
Yeah.
You know?
And only good people at the Olympics. Let's be
Absolutely.
honest. Right?
Let's
Come on,
be
yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Exactly.
4th leg. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. I don't anchor leg.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she's 15 meters ahead of me. So I close the gap a little bit and then I settle. And the last part of the race, I come off the turn. I'm still behind. I literally don't pass her until the last 15 meters of the race.
You're coming around already.
Coming down the home stretch, still behind. And I pull out thinking I'm going to pass her right away. And this woman finds another gear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, but I don't lose focus. I keep my eyes on the finish line. And like with 15 meters to go, I pass her and we win gold. And I feel like this is how much God loves us. He's willing to run us down. He's willing to get us the victory. And it just kind of brought everything full circle to me that's how much God cares about us, is that he wants us to have the victory. God never wanted me to lose that gold medal. He still wanted me to be victorious, but he did want to get my attention. And he did want me to understand that I am not better than anybody else because I can run fast. Any of those things, I'm only great because of him. And so, yeah, that was the toughest part of my life, but also one of the most rewarding times as well.
That is even just like I'm sitting here and I'm listening, and I've never had an abortion experience. I've talked to many people.
Yeah.
I've talked to people on the show that have. But even the fact that you got on a plane the next day, not to go to your grandma's house, not to go back to 9th grade, not to go finish your senior year of college, but to go run in the Olympics from a body standpoint.
Absolutely.
Is crazy.
Absolutely. And it's funny until I did not remember that part of it because the doctor said I shouldn't do anything for 14 days. And I was like, well,
you
that's
did. Yeah. I mean,
that can't happen. I got something to do.
Yeah,
for 14
I got something
days.
to do.
Yeah, so
You have
even
to see me on the TV.
Exactly. So even physically, I shouldn't have been doing that. And it's crazy because when I got to Beijing, because it was like a day travel, so probably 2 days between by the time that happened, I'm actually settled in Beijing. My coach wanted me to go train the next day, so I told him I wasn't feeling well to at least give myself one day off.
I got 3 out of
at least
4 days.
Out of 14.
Yeah.
3 out of 14 days. There's supposed to be no activity. And then I'm back out there. So it's just in so many ways, it was just so much going on emotionally and physically.
Yeah.
And,
You know, when I hear stories like this, and I have a similar story, I got pregnant in college twice. I actually didn't have an abort. I had lost 2 babies.
Yeah.
So similar stories. And what I am proud of you for, and I can say in a weird way, proud of myself, is that when we share our stories like this and when we're vulnerable with the hard things, it's when other women go, okay, if God can still love her,
right,
he can still love me.
Absolutely. And that has been the greatest part for me. Of course, in the beginning, I got some hate mail and stuff. I knew that was coming. So I was prepared for that. God already dealt with that. But when I tell you the women that have reached out to me and said, thank you so much, because that's my story.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid to tell this person. I'm afraid to tell that person. I haven't turned back to God. I have not said, I'm sorry. And now I know what I need to do to at least start that road to recovery, because you're always still healing from that. It's never totally over. And, and for me, it's like, I know that God has forgiven me, but it's about forgiving ourselves and moving beyond that and knowing that we aren't going to be measured based on our worst mistakes and our decisions. We're so much more than that. And so that's been the best part for me, is being able to help those women to navigate what it's like, because no one talks about it.
How'd you and Aaron deal with that?
After we wrote the book or during the time?
During the time.
I mean,
it kind of like y'all just like it didn't happen.
Exactly, Jamie, excuse me. For a very long time, we act like it never happened. And I just lived with this little thing that I always felt that I couldn't quite shake. And it's like, but I wasn't confronting it. And so I wrote
just stuff it.
Just keep stuffing it.
I had a girl on the show that had 2 abortions in her life, and she said that it wasn't until she got sober that she even remembered the second one. Wow. Not like she was like out of it.
Right.
But she pushed it so far down.
Yeah.
That literally it wasn't until she got sober that she went, I've actually had 2 abortions.
Yeah.
And I know, it sounds different, but you just kind of push it.
You just push it. Because no one knows. Like you go to it's not like I'm walking around and So I don't have to deal with it. I don't have to confront it.
And you and Aaron are in 2 different continents.
Yeah, exactly.
So you get back together and
never happened. We don't even talk about the hurt and the everything. And I'll be honest with you too. It's like it's and I know I got in trouble for saying it a certain way before, but there in women's sport, it happens. So there are my peers who I've heard who did it.
And they're like, if you do what you gotta do.
Exactly. So then, and in the book I write that you make this decision just thinking that's what you do to fix it, and you don't realize the ramifications and the weight of it until much later.
Yeah. Because in a sense, this wasn't the first time you wouldn't have gone, oh, I wonder what other people have done.
Right.
You would have known.
Right. Exactly.
You take care of it.
Right. Because I've heard people talk about it before, like, briefly, like, that happened, and it's just like, whoa, and it's just like you move on. And so, yeah.
So you decide to write about it.
Yeah.
So you and Aaron have to confront it.
Exactly.
What was that like?
Yeah. So when I talked to him about it, because God just kept placing on my heart, like, you need to talk, you need to do this. So I said, baby, how do you feel about me writing about 2008?
He knew what you meant.
Of course. Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, if you feel like God wants you to do that, I think you should. So even then we didn't really talk about it. And then I start writing, and I record, and I talk about it, and I'm going through this.
You have to go back.
You have to go
That's
back
what I
there.
learned
You
in
have to
writing the
live
book.
it.
You have to go back to those emotions.
Yeah. And the part for me that made it even more real was I journaled. So I wrote already in the moment.
Uh-huh.
So those feelings were so easily accessible. I hadn't opened that journal and that part of it.
Pushed it back. Yeah.
But I had it. And so eventually I was like, baby, one of my truths that I feel is that I almost feel like you weren't really there. Like we didn't, and I felt like, you didn't experience what I experienced. You didn't have and then when he said to me, that's not true. He said, for so long, I thought the reason we hadn't gotten pregnant again was because of that abortion. I thought we were being punished. And I was like, oh my God, like we got to pray again.
He carried that weight.
Of course. He was carrying that weight, and he, he's a Christian. He had been in the church way longer than I had. His whole family grew up in the church. He never thought he would do that. And so because we hadn't spoken about it, I didn't realize the burden that it was on him and vice versa. So I'll never forget, we were on the couch in our home, and we literally had a bawling session where we hugged, and then we said a prayer, and we just asked God to just forgive us, wholeheartedly forgive us, but also take the burden and the weight away from us and the untruths. And it was really a great, great moment for our relationship, because I feel like we went to another level of honesty and like really like having our souls communicate. Yeah. And it was, and that's honestly, because we communicate very well. That's why we've been together so long. That was the only thing that we both just kind of locked away, and both knew it, but just didn't really deal with it.
Because you don't want to go back. Nobody wants to. You're not saying, "Hey, I want to go back into hurt today."
Right. Exactly.
But sometimes you got to deal with it fully.
Oh yeah.
Or else it stays there.
Exactly.
Well, I'm just like, I know that's going to, even if it's not abortion.
Sure.
It's something.
It's something.
That we feel as though like, I can't come before God, or I feel used, or I feel as though if people knew this about me, what would they think?
Exactly.
And it's just saying, God, Jesus died.
Absolutely.
For all sins.
For all sin.
The big, the little, all of them.
Exactly.
And he died once. Like he took care of it.
Exactly.
Like it is finished.
Yes.
It is done.
Amen to that.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to ask you, your husband was not still in the NFL when Colin Kaepernick kneeled for to bring attention to police brutality against African Americans in the States. Have you talked about what it would have been like had he still been in the NFL? Have you all had those conversations at your house?
Oh yeah, because my husband is also very much in tune with everything that's going on. And as a Black woman, there is so much that we deal with, but there's another level for Black men. And even for me now, as a mom of a young Black boy, I see and feel that hurt for moms way more deeply than I did before, because it's just quite natural. Before I was a daughter, I had never experienced what it's like to give birth to someone, to love someone, to see the potential in them, to know what kind of person they are, and for that person to be misjudged by the color of their skin. So, for Ross and I, it hits home. And, Ross for sure would have wanted to be a part of that protest, and he would have taken a knee for sure with Colin Kaepernick. And we have so much respect for what he has done. And, I just wish that we could take out all the other layers and just get down to what the heart of the issue is and the matter is. Here is a tremendously courageous young man who didn't do anything but take a knee. I mean, what other form of protest can you do that is that almost subservient and unobstructive or intrusive? It's just, it's a shame that it's been spun in so many ugly directions. But for us, it's all about how can we and what parts do we play in ensuring that this stuff just stops happening, and that young Black men get opportunities to go on and to be tried in a courtroom. That's where they need to be tried, and not on the streets in an instant.
I feel some of the same feelings you feel.
Yeah.
The difference is I've always been white.
Right.
So I don't have any background of what it means to be Black in America.
Sure.
But being the mom to two Black boys,
Yeah.
it has been completely sobering over the past couple of years.
Wow.
Of fear.
Yeah.
I live in fear a lot for them.
Right.
One of my sons is Haitian, and so his skin is darker.
Yeah.
And he has dreadlocks.
Oh, wow.
And he's just, all my kids are beautiful because I think they are. You know,
of
we're
course.
mamas. We think our kids are beautiful. But I do. I have something that I never had before.
Of course.
And I don't ever have with my oldest son, who's biological.
Right.
Of that fear.
Yeah.
Of them being judged by what they look like.
Right.
It's scary.
It's scary.
It's very scary.
It's scary. And you know, I wish it's just funny because even as I was driving here, it's an hour drive down here, Jamie, and my mom, because I do a million things, and my mom is like, what you doing today? I know, how you make time for all this stuff? And you know, a big part of it is for me is meeting new people, having new experiences. And I think because I got to travel the world and I became a little bit more aware and conscious of different types of people, I enjoy it. And so I was looking forward to coming down here and meeting you. And so I just wish that more people would do that. Like you adopting a Black, I don't think everybody needs to adopt a Black baby or a white baby or a Chinese, you know, we don't need to do that. But if we're just in community, if we just go out of our way to interact with other people that don't look like us, we would be like, oh, wow, like this girl is just like me. She's know?
Not, or they would, that's what I have felt like as well. Is like, when you meet someone who's and you become a relationship with someone who's different than you, is when what the media tells us or what the issues are, they become, you can touch that.
Exactly. I mean,
it's like the whole thing with, you know, the immigration that was going on in the border.
Yes.
If you've never met someone who is from Mexico or who has immigrated to the United States of America for whatever reason, those issues are just issues to you.
Right. Exactly.
But when you meet someone, and you see them, you know, every 2 weeks for whatever you do in your life, and they say, yeah, when I was 4, my parents brought me over. I've lived here my whole life. I have a college education.
Exactly. It's different.
It's different.
It's different. It's no longer an issue. It's real.
It's real.
It's real. And you feel, you know how it really impacts people. And so just signing a law or just issuing this statement, it's different when you're like, man, like this could affect my friend who is a great, great person, as much a citizen as I am. You know, I mean, I migrated here. I mean, I am I'm a naturalized citizen, but my whole thing is on some level, we all did. Like just because everybody did. Like just because I am 1 year, I'm first generation, is it different? Or my son, it doesn't matter. Right. In the grand scheme of things, we're all the same, and we all want the same things, just to be happy. And
have you seen the musical Hamilton?
Not yet.
It seems like a weird connection here, but let me tell you real quick.
Yeah.
So so we saw it this year.
Awesome.
The entire cast is made up of minority culture people.
Right. I know that part. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I've heard.
It's worth every penny that you would possibly pay to go see it. My husband told me that the reason they did that, because it's based also, they play characters who are not minorities.
Right.
But and I hope I get this right. Someone will correct me, because you know people will correct you if you say something wrong. But my husband told me that they did that on purpose to show that everybody that came to America in the beginning, they were all immigrants.
Right.
They all showed up here like that.
Of course.
And so I thought that is so interesting of what you just said as well, is, listen, none of us started here.
Yeah.
Except for, you know what, I do have American Indian in me.
All right.
So my people have been here a little bit longer. I always like to say that. Listen, Columbus, you didn't show up here. We were here first.
Exactly. I love that.
Well, girl, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys heard Jessica Honegger and I talking about Noonday Collection, and I just want to invite you again to take that next step and consider becoming a Noonday Collection ambassador. If you join by the end of October, you will get my favorite feather earrings that are to die for, and I wear them all the time, and you guys compliment on them all the time. Head on over to noondaycollection.com/Jamie Ivey to learn more. Okay, guys, there it was, my conversation with Sanya. I hope that you saw what I saw at the end of her story about her abortion experience before that 2008 Olympic. My heart was breaking as she was sharing the story with me, but my heart was also rejoicing as she was saying the forgiveness that she felt from God. I hope if you have a story like Sanya's, and it may not be abortion, it could be anything, fill in the blank, that what you'll hear when you hear her and I talk about this is not just a story of what happened, a story of what went wrong, But you'll hear a story about a faithful God who loves his kids even when we mess up. That's what we want you to hear about this. Oh, and don't worry, you guys. After we stopped recording, I totally showed her all my medals. Like a really big dork, I'm telling you. She's a 4-time Olympic medalist. I have a medal from the Junior Olympics in 8th grade. You know what? I embarrassed myself, but whatever. Guys, today's show is edited by Chris with Podshaper, and the music was developed for the show by Matt Graham. Next week, my guest is Nicole Zazowski. We sat down and Nicole shared with me about some grief that she's been walking through, but how even in the midst of that, she has joy and there is hope. It is a really great episode. Make sure you tune in next week. Guys, enjoy your week. Share the show with a girlfriend and have a happy hour with a friend.